Hey guys, it's Chris Sandeman back again, coming to you live from Princess Street Gardens here in sunny Edinburgh. It's drizzling, but in Scotland, a little drizzle is still a sunny day. And I've organized a bagpiper for us, so we might as well listen in for a second. Good morning, Shannon. So we're up on Princess Street, guys. This is not Princesses Street. Think of one prince, and then you have multiple princes. Princess Street. As we listen in for a second before we enter into the western part of Princess Street Gardens, turn around real quick. We have a picture here, or a view here, into the onto the mound, as it's called. It's actually separating us from Princess Street Gardens East. We're going to be exploring the west today. Hi, Joel. Hello to Sydney. Happy to see you there, brother. And Thorsten. Na? Wunderschönen guten Tag. Thanks for being here. Good to see you. We're live right now. If you're watching on Monday, what is today's day? 6th of September. And if you're watching at some other time, other than kind of noon UK time on Monday, well, you're watching a video. But either way, wherever you are watching and whenever you are watching, go ahead and say hi, give a thumbs up, do your thing. Hey, Camila. Bom dia. Bom dia, Brazil. Thanks for joining. I don't want to film this guy too much without paying, but he's going to be our background music anyway. So the street here is Princess Street. This is the separation from the old town behind me and well, the new town that you're looking into in front of us. Worth mentioning really quick, I think we have something in media. Let me just check if I have it here. No. There's a tapestry inside there of Colin of Kincaid saving his king from a stag, which is the stag that represents the Dalmore distillery. But I'm going to actually show that to you guys when I do my distillery mashup. Hey, 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 hey. All right, so entering now into Princess Street Garden West. This is the most popular and famous garden in Edinburgh by far. And wasn't originally a place that everyone could go to. It was a private park for the people who actually lived along Princess Street here, and they resisted heavily it eventually becoming a public park. But even before that, it was where the Nor Loch was. Let's talk more about that in a second, because right now, hey Hale, oh gosh, it is a bit early, but thanks for joining us. Hello to South Carolina. You guys peaked in my New York Times recently with kind of an uptick unfortunately, in COVID cases, and I hope you're staying healthy, and I hope you're staying safe. Okay, so give a hug to Jim for me. We're looking here at the well, it's a clock. It's a flower clock, and the clock mechanisms are actually up here. Oh hell, you got your booster. I'm happy to hear this. The clock mechanisms, the working part of the clock, is actually inside this plinth and statue that you see here of a famous Scottish author and editor by the name of Ramsay, which is interesting because, well, he may very well be a relative of mine, as my great 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 grand uncle married Mary or Margaret Ramsay. The Sandemans and the Ramsays kind of came together for a little bit there. So in there you've got mechanisms that make this clock turn, and this flower clock is the first one ever. It was the first time it ever happened. It started 1903 just as an hour hand, but then they added the minute hand in the following year. And it's speaking to the Botanic Gardens, which is about a mile to the north of us right now. Amazing Botanic Gardens. The Scots were leaders in the Botanic Gardens, which, if we remember from our tours in Queens and Brooklyn, were gardens that specifically weren't just for for viewing, but for the medical and scientific research of plants and their application to society. And that is something that even the founders of America's first Botanic Gardens would come to Scotland to learn about that process and those procedures. So it's up by Inverleith House. And if we remember from our tour of Aberlour, we know that when you put an inver or an aber in front of a word, that old Pictish language is speaking about a confluence of waters or rivers. And of course it's the Leith River, the waters of Leith, that run past those gardens, and hence, yeah, Inverleith House. Well worth a view. So Shannon writes, Niagara Falls has a floral clock as well. Not as old as that though. Oh, it's the first one here, so that's why. Yeah? And Joel, it is a pretty cool clock. Now here, what you can see are some shelters that as we face north towards Princess Street. It used to be that Princess Street was a narrower street, but when they widened the street to allow for more traffic, the embankment here became much steeper. And with a steeper embankment, in fact, by 1939, hey, Sweet Ling Chong, thank you for the thumbs up and the awesome, glad you're here. When the steeper embankment was then put in, it meant that you could do more with the space, in fact. And it was back in 1939 that they actually built 4 massive air raid shelters into this embankment in preparation, of course, for Axis bombing of Edinburgh. So we're going to continue down into the west of this garden. We'll talk a little bit more about it as we go, because Elbick, you were here twice. Very cool. Well, it's always worth a revisit. And we're going to have a mixture of flowers, of history, of monuments and statues. We're going to go for about 45 minutes, and then I am going to go and join the lovely Ross and Nikki, bride and groom, for a little lunch. And now that we're allowed to share some social media posts, just a quick photo, no live stream of the wedding or anything, but just a picture from the wedding, from the photo booth as we got together and celebrated their nuptials. Look how lovely those guys look. I was really honored to be there. Maybe we'll have some more photos later on. So, but let's turn that one off. All right, and we'll continue down. So the Norloch, which was actually a artificially created body of water at one point or another, that would collect here on the north side of Edinburgh Castle, would also then, of course, catch all the runoff from the refuse and waste of humans who are living up on the Royal Mile, up in that direction, and eventually had to be drained. So that drainage took place over a period of time, but really the 1820s is when the drainages is largely completed, so that way they can have this garden space separating the old town and the new town. This here is the gardener's cottage, but this doesn't come around until a little bit later, and that's when finally, despite much resentment and resistance, the people of the new town and the Princess Street association, they lost out, and the city was able to take this park area for the people by 1876. And the new park was laid out by city architect Robert Morton, including this gardener's cottage right here in West Garden. So very pretty. I'm not actually sure, but I think maybe the gardener, there's a gardener that still lives there. If someone knows, let me know. This is a very well manicured area, so you can imagine a person living there. And it's not abnormal, actually, as well in at US national parks, that rangers will live on site as part of their compensation. So Elbeck writes, you can see Loch Ness behind me on my profile photo. I was there in 2019 before pandemic. Glad that you managed to get in time and be able to have a visit. Well, what we're visiting here right now is the Royal Scots Memorial. Hey, Michaela, thanks for joining. Good to see you, and welcome back to Edinburgh. Maybe a tad early for drinking whiskey, but you never know. So this monument, which you can see curving around us to the Royal Scots, was designed by Frank Mayers, and with the sculptor Pilkington Jackson. It's been described as a modern henge. And although it dates back to 1950, the Royal Scots continue to earn honors for different wars and battles that they had fought in and contributed to. So we've actually even had additions as late as 2007. And May 2007 is when the last edition is added to this space. And that's because the Royal Scots, as an organization, would be incorporated with others in 2006. So no more honors to be added. But as we go along here, you can kind of see over time the evolution. If we get a little bit closer, you get a feeling of, this guy's actually carrying like a pike or a halberd. And then still some halberds here, or some pikes here, but now the main weapon is a musket. And the names of the different places where they have fought, as well as the regent, or the regents of the time. What does it say along here? The sake of liberty alone, which no true man loseth, but at the cost of his life. Pretty moving words. And here, most recent, or more recent, views of modern dress. I came and explored through here yesterday, and yes, we can kind of see here the final additions to the monument added in 2007, with the regiment being wrapped up in 2006, looks like. So I came through yesterday, and it was bustling. It was a sunny day, lots of people in the park, much less so today, which makes sense because it's both Monday, people have got to work, as well as that it's a little bit wet right now. So as always, if you guys see a wet lens, don't hesitate to let me know. I'll do a quick wipe down for you as we go. Hi Michelle, good morning. Sorry to be so early for you guys. Feel bad for the West Coasters. I know there's no chance for them right now, but comments, whenever you do, I will get to you and say hello. Might not be until after I fly back to the States tomorrow, So it's coming up. Here we have a statue by a gentleman by the name of William Brodie. The statue here is called The Genius of Architecture, Crowning the Theory and Practice of Art. Originally, it was at the Garden in Rockville, home of William Brodie's maverick architect son-in-law, Sir James Gowans. But it moved here in 1690, following the demolition of Rockville. You probably know William Brodie better for another statue he did, which I'm just going to put up on the screen here. And it's there. Because that is also William Brodie's work that you can see here on the left, and that's none other than Greyfriars Bobby, the most famous dog in Scotland. And, like Iron Brew is more popular than Coke, Greyfriars Bobby is better known than Lassie. And William Brodie did that statue as well, which sits over by Greyfriars Kirkyard. So how about that? Hey Alexa, good morning, welcome, thanks for joining. Appreciate you being here. Okay, let's continue on over here. Oh, here we have a memorial elephant. As just a note to all my fellow travelers, when you see a monument or a memorial, really think twice before you sit on it. It might be in bad taste sometimes. You just don't even know, right, if you don't know. And what this particular memorial, which I saw people lining up to sit on and take pictures of, and fair enough, maybe that makes a lot of sense for you if that's what you want to do, is actually a memorial to the Morton Hall baby ashes. And it was a scandal that came out in 2012. And what had been happening for years, actually, was that sadly, children, infants that had died soon after birth, or even premature children, that stillborn or unfortunate things like this. Their parents were told that after their cremation, their remains cremation, that there were not enough ashes left to distribute to the parents, to the family, for them to remember their passed on infants. And it came out first in Edinburgh's Morton Hall Crematorium in 2012 that actually the staff had simply not been recovering the ashes for decades, and they had just been disposing of them themselves rather than returning them to their families. It wasn't just in Edinburgh. It turned out that other crematoriums were doing the same. The parents received settlements from the councils for the damages that occurred to them, but like case in point, just take a quick peek, because in memory of our precious babies, gone but never forgotten, not necessarily the one to jump on and enjoy a selfie photo. So, but it's not going to stop people from doing it. Yeah, get a quick picture. No shaming in it, but just a question of being aware and present when you do. Shannon, couldn't agree with you more. I love how this community has grown and come together, as you write. Shannon also writes, we all sort of know each other and say hi. Thanks, Chris, for bringing us together. I'm really happy to be a conduit for us being able to come together, for sure. Well, up here on, let's see if I can wiggle my way back up. Can I just cross over on the grass here? Is there a path up? I don't know if this is a place I can walk in the grass. Well, all right, I'm going to stay over here for a second and just point out this guy up on the wall. Charlene, thank you for that. Yeah, it is an incredible story. This statue that you see up here is a statue to the Royal Scots Greys. And although they are no longer the Royal Scots Greys, having been amalgamated in 1971 with the 3rd Carabiners of the Prince of Wales Dragoon Guards to form the Royal Scots Dragoon Guards, the Royal Scots Greys have an old, almost not ancient, but an old tradition, and had been around since the 1600s, actually. They began life as 3 troops of dragoons, meaning that although they were mounted as cavalry, right, there was a transition where old cavalry might have been, in armor and such. These guys, their armaments were closer to that used by infantry units. So troopers would be equipped with matchlock muskets, sergeants and corporals would have halberds and pistols, and officers would carry swords, although lieutenants would have a partisan. And a partisan was like it's like a spear, pointy end, but like pointy bits coming out horizontally from the spear as well. So, hey Lorraine! All right, let me zoom back. And a couple people enjoying the park. Okay, so we're heading over right now towards the Ross Bandstand. I'm going to cut back up to the upper path from the lower path because there's some monuments up there that I want to be able to show us and see. Got to be conscientious about the time. I got a lunch date with the newlyweds in about 30 minutes. So the Ross Bandstand that you can see coming up over here was donated by, or named after, the gentleman William Henry Ross, who was the chairman of the Distillers Company Limited, and gifted the bandstand on the site, the original first bandstand on the site, in 1877. Well, that's not what you're looking at here. It's still old. It's from 1935 and plays a central role in festivals, Fringe Festival. So you can see a lead up here and space for people to sit and watch. But let's go up here for a second and really start to enjoy some more of the floral arrangements here. Really vibrant, beautiful colors. I have to say, Scotland, job well done on all the rain, because you've got so much lush floral stuff happening. Real quick, let's look back over in this direction, because now we can get a good view, not just of that. There we go. What we're looking over there in the distance is the Scots monument, which is to Sir Walter Scott. Great author. Oh yeah, and castle in the background. I'm going to spin around to that in just 1 second. Past the Greys, named because not only were their uniforms supposed to be gray, but their horses in the beginning were all gray. And just absolutely beautiful. And as Shannon called it out, of course, there is the castle. Well, people come to Edinburgh Castle and they're like, well, it doesn't really look like a castle to me. There we go. It doesn't really look like a castle to me. Well, this side of it looks more like a residence. It's true. The front side of it, which faces onto the esplanade, which is that big flat area at the top of the Royal Mile, well, that looks more like a fortification. But when you're looking for a castle, then you're probably going to want to go over to Stirling. Hour and a half drive, depending on traffic. And that is where you had a major castle and a sort of a center, is the center. It's the center of Scotland. And all roads kind of went to Stirling. But this is definitely the more famous one. Yeah. You can imagine trying to scale those walls with a fighting force. I mean, first trying to scale this basalt rock plug here, which if it couldn't be conquered by a glacier, difficult for people to conquer it otherwise. And we're going to get another view of it in a sec, so I'm going to pull away from it for a moment and continue through the gardens. But you can understand and see how, of course, runoff down the hill would accumulate, not being absorbed into the stone at all, and just end up filling in here to create this body of water known as the Norloch, which had multiple purposes. It was where you went to the bathroom, and ultimately it is also where you got your drinking water, depending upon who you were, unfortunately for some. And it's where, if you were accused of being a witch, they might try drowning you there. If you managed to survive the drowning attempts, that's probably because the devil was holding you up and keeping you afloat. And if you didn't manage, we were very, very sorry. And as we know, when the Norloch was finally drained in the 1800s, they found hundreds of skeletons of women who had not been witches. So, yeah, definitely a way to get cholera, Alexa. I agree with you on that one. It's also part of the reason why people in Edinburgh would drink beer rather than water. You drink ales because they'd been boiled. The water had been boiled. 1.5%, 2%, 3% weak beers, because it was safer. And eventually we figured out it's because they were boiling the water. It was purifying it, right? So what we're looking at here then is what is often known as the Scottish American War Memorial, but better known as the Call of 1914, as you can see here down below. It was a gift from Scottish Americans to pay homage, to pay tribute to the Scots that had answered the call of the First World War, the Great War, and went into battle on behalf of all of our freedoms. So this young infantryman is kilted, and he's staring up towards the castle, is the idea. And the idea is that he was, he's looking up towards maybe his monarch, You get a feeling of that. It's quite impressive. It's so scenic here. It's hard not to just be blessed by great camera opportunities. And here what you see are all sorts of people, fishermen, young boys, rovers, miners, right? And then here suddenly transitioning to carrying weapons, and now in uniform, and then now in full regimental regalia, hearing the sound of the bagpipes and following and answering the call. If it be life that waits, I shall live forever, unconquered. If death, I shall die at last strong in my pride and free. Hale asks, did they wear kilts at the wedding? And yes, they did. Ross and his best man and several other people were wearing kilts. Lots of people wearing Tartan. Titan. Titan. No, Tartan, that's what I meant to say. So yes, that monument that we were just at, erected in 1927. So, an honor to those. Hi there, hello. And a quick floral interlude. Hale says, I love a man in a kilt. Hale, does it make a difference if he's wearing it traditionally or just with underwear? Just kidding, of course. Interesting stuff about the kilts is that they were kind of like the original kilt would have been a 12-meter long piece of fabric that you would wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap and wrap around yourself. It would be used to keep your weapon dry and clean. It would, create maybe a barrier around you in the snow even. Kilts and bagpipes were all forbidden. All that kind of regalia of the Highlands was forbidden at one point. And then kilts resurface in the way that we know them today, really as a fashion, as a form of fashion that catches on. Well, I wanted to talk really quick here about our new friend, Wojtek the Bear. And Wojtek was a Syrian brown bear who was bought as a young cub at a railroad station in Hamadan, Iran, by the Polish 2nd Corps soldiers who had been evacuated from the Soviet Union. In order to be able to, no joke, be able to, for the soldiers to be able to take him with him and be able to provide for his rations and financing for his transportation, they enlisted him officially as a soldier with the rank of private. So this is Private Wojtek the Bear, but don't worry, he was promoted to corporal by the end of his time, as he accompanied the bulk of the 2nd Corps to Italy, serving with the 22nd Artillery Supply Company. During the Battle of Monte Cassino in Italy in 1944, he helped move crates of ammunition and became a real celebrity with visiting Allied generals and statesmen. After the war, and hence why Wojtek is here honored in Princess Street Garden, after the war, he served out the rest of his life at the Edinburgh Zoo, not too far from us right now. Once he was mustered out of the Polish army, of course, he stayed here with us. So, in memory of the Polish men and women who fought for your freedom and ours. And then, thank you, Wojtek. Yeah, in English, you'd say Wojtek. And here's the Polish of that for our Polish speakers who are watching. And of course, we got Wojtek hard at work, doing his berry stuff. Of course, he wasn't just, we weren't using him as a slave bear, right? Here him as a little cub back in Iran. He wasn't a slave bear. He was, they weren't using him to just move things around. He was an inspiration to the troops. They were fighting for Wojtek as well. So, and Alexei, yeah, what a life. What a life. I mean, he saw a lot. I didn't realize that bears could be kind of made tame like that. I mean, of course, you've got those circus bears, but are bears like lions and tigers that if you're not careful, there's a wild kitty in there still that might bite your head off if you stick your head in its mouth during a magical performance or something like that? Oh, I don't know why I'm not showing you guys the castle. Well, we're heading over to a couple more monuments here, and then we're going to make our way almost to the end of the park as we see a few churches that are at the far end. Shannon asks, didn't they used to give them lots of beer as well? That sounds like a good tour guide story and could be true, or it could be mists of time. In my research, I didn't turn over the bear beer abuse, but probably. Doesn't surprise me. Oh, Hale asks, what is that tree to the left? This one, Hale? Might be a little lag. I think this tree and this tree are the same. This is like the baby tree of this bigger mama tree. And I can't actually say what those trees are, unfortunately. I don't know. But, hell, I would say Jim would answer that one. Yeah, I don't know. But let's take a look. And someone have that app on their phone that lets you look at plants and figure out, is it a weeping willow? It's so weird that it has all this extra stick stuff coming out of it, that I think of a weeping willow as being where its tendrils are much less thick, These look like real branches coming down. Baby tree do 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 do. Baby tree do 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 do. Exactly, Alexa. Thanks for putting that into my head. I've just passed it on to all of you guys as well, so you can suffer with me. I can't answer those 2 trees here, but I can speak to the 3 trees here in front of us. These trees here were added for a trifecta of trees added for the Golden Jubilee in 2002 as a gift. The Golden Jubilee of the Queen's reign. 3 trees representing the 3 kingdoms of the United Kingdoms, Scotland, England, and North Ireland, Kingdom of Northern Ireland. Where's Wales? Sorry, Wales. You kind of get shafted often in that whole recounting. You became not part of England, but conquered by England just too early, and therefore, never kind of represented. You got this stone here, which is kind of neat. It says, during the war years of 1940 through 45, the Norwegian Brigade and other army units were raised and trained in Scotland. Of course, Norway having been occupied by the armies of the Third Reich. Here we found hospitality, friendship, and hope during dark years of exile. In grateful memory of our friends and allies on these isles, this stone was erected in the year of 1978. And guys, it's not the only thing that happened in 1978. There's also another very important occurrence that took place on these great British Isles. This guy was born. So thanks, Mom, for making that happen. Dad, you were involved, but you didn't do as much work, you gotta be honest, at the time at least. So either way, 78, guys, great year. Oh, it's a puppy. Hello, beautiful puppy dog. Oh, you are so beautiful. You are so attentive. Oh, that is a happy dog. And here we now approach our Ross Fountain. It's actually produced in the iron foundry of Antoine Dorine in Sommervieux, France. It was part of the exhibit of the Great Exhibition of 1862, which was in London, I believe. It was purchased by gunmaker Daniel Ross, not the same Ross as back at the Bandstand, it's a different Ross, probably related though. Ross bought it in 1862 at the end of the Great Exhibit, or the Great Exhibition, for a paltry sum of £2,000. Would have been a fortune actually. It's transported first to Leith in 1869, separated into 122 different pieces. And it was installed here in 1872, just 3 years later. Although, thank goodness, money was raised to help restore it in 2000, finishing in 2001. And here is one of those photos I promised to show you guys. You're gonna see it on postcards, but you can see it here for free. Great view up towards the back of the castle with the Ross Fountain in the foreground. Beautiful statue. Let me zoom in a little bit. Oh, not statue, a beautiful fountain. Let me zoom in a little bit on it for you guys. And so that way you can get a closer look at some of the detailing on it. There we go. Why don't I come around to the sunny side of it too? You want in? Yeah? Uh-oh. We're getting stream bombed. We are getting stream bombed. There they are. Hey, it's Ross and Nikki.
Hello.
Hi. Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, thank you. How's everybody?
How's everyone doing out there?
Hello.
Here they are, folks. You saw the picture before. I can prove to you it's them. See? That's them still.
We look a bit different with the hair and the makeup not done, so.
I think you guys look great. I think you guys look great. Right now, they're just the lag. They're gonna freak out any second now as soon as the lag comes through. There's sun in Scotland, and Shannon, the only reason the sun came out right now is because these two just showed up on the live stream.
Yeah,
so.
the sunshine. Where's my sunglasses? I need some sunblock.
All right, and we're coming around the other way now. Shannon says,
"Hi, everybody."
Awesome, Nikki! Hale says, "Congratulations, yay!"
Brilliant.
Hale, are you celebrating their arrival, or are you celebrating the sun in Scotland? I mean,
Yeah.
both of them are incredible things.
No, this is just very strange to be on the
this
other side of the
side.
camera.
Yes.
Right? Yeah, well, there you go.
Fantastic.
Immortalized.
Immortalised now.
Yeah, I hope your tour of the gardens has been nice.
Yeah, hope
Seen
you've
all the
enjoyed
plants, animals.
I saw Wojtek, the elephant,
Bear,
Yeah.
The floral clock.
floral clock, of course, the first
Brilliant.
one ever.
Yes.
Yeah, it was the first floral
Yeah.
clock
And
ever.
obviously my fountain.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
called the Ross Fountain.
Of course it is.
Yep,
Of course,
yep.
I thought that was a family name, but no, I see that they were just trying to be nice to the old gunsmith
Yes.
who,
Brilliant.
supposedly bought it in 1862, but no, it wasn't him.
And then there's the Ross Bandstand as well.
Yes.
Now, are those two Rosses related?
I think it was the same person actually.
Yeah.
They're okay. All right. There you go. Maybe.
And then it is actually getting developed in the next 2 years into a huge concert venue as well.
Did they raise the money for it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
the council need to give the go ahead for it.
So they have big bands playing at New Year, Hogmanay and
Mhm.
everything, and the fireworks and everything. But
Yeah.
and they've recently redone the fountain up. It wasn't like flowing, and it's all glorious beauty right
Yeah,
it
it
is
just
now.
got renovated. And gold plated as well.
In 2001,
Yeah,
there
they,
you go.
they put it together.
Yeah.
Hogmanay starts on the 31st and then continues on until January, what?
Second.
About the second, well, the celebrations start the 28th,
8th.
and then the 29th they have a torchlight procession down the Royal Mile from the castle, and goes up Carlton Hill where you've done your sunrise. And then the 30th there's normally a big Cayley fireworks, and then the Saturday is the big Hogmanay fireworks.
Awesome.
So yeah,
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
but yeah, this is just very strange to be behind this camera, guys.
Michelle says, "Hi, newlyweds." Joel says, "Hopefully I can come for Fringe one day." Joel, we're talking to these guys, not about Fringe right now. Michaela says hi.
Hi, Michaela.
And sends you guys waves and kissy faces. Paola says congrats.
Lovely
Joel
accent.
says lovely accent, yeah. And then Hale was saying yes, I was congratulating them on the
Yeah,
on the
thanks.
marriage. Sorry.
Oh, yeah.
And they want to see the rings again.
There's mine. And Nikki's. There's been a slight thingy with it.
Yeah, I've had to take my wedding band back to the jewellers this morning because it's a bit too tight.
Yeah, I during the ceremony there was a. I noticed that.
Yeah, it's slightly too tight. So
Hale asks, where is the honeymoon?
It was originally meant to be Las Vegas
Mhm.
and Mexico. Obviously, for reasons said, we can't make it. So we're now going to Malta.
Malta.
On the September 25th.
Malta. There you
So
go.
if we get anywhere this year, it's an accomplishment.
and
Yeah.
we might potentially live stream from there because this kind gentleman gave us a gimbal. So
Yeah.
I might have to actually change career from the NHS to live streaming.
Well, there you go. I'll tell you what. I think you probably do a lot more good for people still at the NHS, but I love that idea. It'd be great to get some live stream from Malta, right, guys?
Yeah.
So,
Well, we'll give it a go.
Michaela asked, did my parcel arrive already?
We think so.
We think so. I didn't hear the doorbell go this morning from the postie, but we've got a card through the door saying go to the collection office.
So we think something has arrived.
So yeah, we'll get it tomorrow hopefully.
But we'll let you know when it arrives.
How are we doing for time? Should we be moving over?
Probably soon, yeah. But
Yeah?
we'll let you finish.
We'll let you
Yeah.
finish. We've
Yeah.
just
We just-
bombed your stream.
Yeah.
But you guys we can walk along to,
Okay, well.
to the end. I mean,
I'll
probably
give
no.
you Mike back because
Yeah?
you're
All
the
right.
tour guide.
All right. Well, I mean, I wish I was more of a guide for here. There's so much rich history in Scotland, and part of the thing that also makes it quite tricky often is that there's a lot of reusing of similar names.
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be hard to connect it all together. But why don't we walk out, this
Lead
way,
on,
and then
lead
we'll make our way out and review my my handy notes for where we're headed to up here, which is St. Cuthbert's.
And this church is actually where my brother and sister-in-law got married.
Oh, really? And Agatha Christie, apparently.
Yes, yes, that is
I
it.
didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a sign on the outside saying that.
I mean, I figured they put that there just to make sure they were getting, the love that they wanted from that. Apparently there was earlier churches here, but this one was built between 1892 and 1894. And there's an extensive graveyard with some pretty famous people pretty notable people, I guess, although I didn't know a ton of them. It has stained glass windows that came all the way from Louis Comfort Tiffany in New York City. And it's the oldest Christian site in Edinburgh, so it shows the sign. See, that was the part that I thought was a little bit like glamming it up. Walk past the Burke and Hare era Body Snatchers watchtower. I mean, Burke and Hare didn't have anything to do with that. It was just that they were body snatchers, so yeah. They're selling it. They're selling it for sure. Well, who's this dog? I walked around the other way. I didn't get to meet this guy, but I know that Michelle loves a good dog. A canine connection.
Edinburgh and San Diego, California. It says here.
Oh, it's a gift from San Diego. How about that?
Edinburgh and San Diego, California share a twining link with a unique twist. Each city is home to a famous dog. Edinburgh's loyal and beloved Greyfriars Bobby,
Right?
and San Diego's equally beloved vagabond dog.
Ah.
In recognition of these canine heroes, a statue of Bobby was presented to San Diego, and this statue of Bum was gifted in return.
The dog's name is Bum.
It says Bum, yeah.
Oh,
B-U-M.
Oh, that's kind of.
Maybe somebody in San Diego might maybe know a bit more, but it does say Bum. The dogs represent the spirit of the twining link, friendship and loyalty and shared experience. It says Bum died in 1898, aged 12 years old.
Although there's something a little bit tongue-in-cheek there because it's the vagabond dog named Bum,
Right.
and like that's like a homeless person,
Oh,
like
is it?
someone, yeah.
Okay,
And
so I
you
didn't
know,
what that meant.
poor puppy. Although Greyfriars Bobby, I discovered that statue in the park by Robert Burns. He's the guy that the Greyfriars Bobby statue, and there's a statue here of a woman who's crowning two children as well, and same guy. So it's a double representation.
Anyone in San Diego.
And quite often these graveyards are where homeless people sleep, hang out during the day. So yeah, see the sort of connection.
Right, sleeping rough,
Yeah.
which is pretty dangerous to do up here, because it can get so cold that sleeping rough, I know there was a it was like a Guardian reporter a few years back was like, well, I'm gonna show what it's like. I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna spend a few nights sleeping rough, just to get a feeling for it. And he froze to death. But he was a journalist, and he was like, I'm gonna stick it out, I'm gonna stay. But he just didn't know how to kind of line his clothing with paper and newspapers to keep warm. And
We do a charity, well, not personally, but in Scotland they do a charity thing once a year called the Big Sleep Out, where everybody sleeps in big parks together, and they have like celebrities come, sing, etc. But it's just you spend 12 hours sleeping outside for a night in November, where it could be like up to -10 or something.
Right.
So,
Right.
yeah, just raise a lot of money, but a lot of people like.
And awareness and
Yeah.
compassion
Yeah.
at the same time.
Definitely.
So,
Absolutely.
well, I think we can wrap. We've walked the park, and I'm feeling peckish. So, guys, thanks so much for joining us. If I miss any last questions, Charlene, notes. I thought you had it all memorized. I'm super impressed. No, Charlene. It's way too much information to memorize the whole thing. I'm always trying to learn as much as I can as I go, but then refer to notes to keep it relative. Great tour, Joel. Thank you for joining. Alexa, love the Scottish accents, right? They're pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I'm trying. I got a lot of work to go still.
Get rolling those R's.
Yeah, right. And the
Rolling
R's,
the
they're really
Rs.
pretty cool. Michelle, thank you. Hale, thank you, guys. Michelle, I know you love those dog stories, so I wanted to make sure that if I saw one, I'll always jump into them. Alexa wrote, so they buried all these famous people and built on top of what used to be a filthy bog. Yes, actually, yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah, that was part of what had to happen here, is that actually the first draining of the Nor Loch was this end of it to make room for the extension and rebuilding of this church, was built in the end of the 1800s, right after this section of the loch was drained. See, no notes.
Yeah.
I knew it.
Easy.
And Shannon writes, Nikki working for the NHS is great, but you could also be a great tour guide. Absolutely, completely
Absolutely.
agree. You know what? Right now, we all need a side hustle. There's no shame in side hustling. So
And I've even now got a red brolly.
Yeah.
she's got a red umbrella. She's received one of the iconic Sandeman's red umbrellas. So you guys got to use those on a rainy day, and people are going to start following you,
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
heading down the street with you. So, all right. Well, from Edinburgh, from the west end of Princess Street Gardens, that's Nikki and Ross. I'm Chris Sandeman, and we're saying ciao for now. We'll
See you later.
See you
Bye.
later. Have a great day, guys. Talk to you soon.